Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I keep calling it Into, and I don't know why. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is officially in theaters. It's time for a spoiler discussion, and I've got two great guests coming back to the channel. They were on for my road to Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm bringing them back to discuss Across the Spider-Verse, which made a lot of money and made a lot of people very happy. And I'm going to introduce them. First of all, Matt Wyatt. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing very good, dude. It's been a while since I was last on here because we were talking about the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, which that was a lot of fun. I've saw Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm excited to go in depth, full on spoiler talk.
Yeah, 100%. And I have to introduce Ryan from Real Spective, who was on to talk about the Andrew Webb, shoot, Mark
Close.
Webb, Mark Webb Spider-Man movies. Ryan, thank you so much for joining.
Nah, dude, I'll defend those two movies. Like, yeah, I'll say it. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is pretty shit, but it's fun shit, unlike some other shit. Spider-Man 3, cough, cough. But that's neither here or there. I'm just glad to be back because I just want to know if I'm overanalyzing this movie too much, but you'll see. I've got some thoughts, but overall, I thought it was a really good movie.
Well, we most assuredly will cross that bridge when we get there. Just getting the house cleaning out of the way. Both of these guys' links will be in the description. Go give them a subscribe on their various social medias and their various channels. This will be a spoiler warning. This is a formal spoiler warning right here and now. We will be talking about Across the Spider-Verse in great detail. So if you have not seen the movie, see it first and then come back and watch the replay later. But this is your spoiler warning, talking about everything in great detail regarding this movie. You've been forewarned. So, where do we even start with this in like the best way possible? Should I could pass it off to you guys. Do you want to just like give some general thoughts, or is there a particular jumping off point that you would like to start with?
I'll come in with a hot take since we'll start it off. I don't think this movie really understands itself conceptually. The idea of the Spider Verse canon events. I think they're almost there, but I don't think they fully have the idea down to how they want to connect all the spider people throughout the multiverse. I can go in depth on it. I can really go, but I want to hear your thoughts on that because I feel like I'm definitely an odd man out on this opinion. I feel like a lot of people generally think that, oh yeah, it's probably one of the best multiverse movies or the best way they could do it. Since, like, I'll be honest, I don't know who else really loved Multiverse of Madness other than like diehard Raimi fans, but like that wasn't a really Multiverse of Madness movie. This is a Multiverse of Madness, but I'm just curious to get your ideas on like what you guys think about the whole ideas of canon events connecting all the spider people and the whole idea of we already gave a spoiler alert, right?
We
Yeah,
did.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
like
And
fair warning. So
how like Miles an anomaly, and I don't really think it all makes sense when you put it together. But I'm just curious to see what you guys think, to be honest, before I really get into it.
I've been thinking about this movie quite a bit for the past few days since I saw it on Saturday. It's I think this movie leaves Miles and everyone else in a very curious place, but in a place that I like, and I generally want to see what they do with, I guess we're calling it now Beyond the Spider-Verse. I believe that is the title. But
Yeah.
Matt, pass it off to you. Anything you'd like to add?
I actually really love this movie and how well it delivers the multiverse aspect because the Spider Society that Miguel put together, those are like thousands of millions of Spider-Mans that were a bunch of variants, which when he was explaining about the whole multiverse and other sacrifices, the whole branch of realities, that was definitely like connection to the MCU. They're basically like the TVA people trying to keep the multiverse intact and make sure it doesn't cast like a catastrophic because those millions of Spider-Mans, they're just variants. So whatever continuity, schmontinuity you want to call it all you want, but that is what it is. I mean, they're just a bunch of multiple versions of variants. So whether it's continuity or not, it's just that's just how I saw the movie.
Yeah, definitely agree. I lean more towards towards Matt's feelings on that. I'm more in agreement with him, but I like we were talking about I think it really does capture the multiverse in about as good a fashion as you can possibly imagine. I was having a lot of fun just seeing because it's a Lord and Miller movie, so there's going to be like Easter eggs and references, but I think the references were a lot of fun. They're not in your face. I feel like there was enough to be like, oh yeah, but they weren't distracting. I popped really hard when I saw Lego Spider-Man. Not gonna lie. When I saw that, I was like, there is no way. And sure enough, there's Lego Spider-Man, and we got Spider-Punk and a bunch of others, and we can talk about those in more detail. But I feel like there was like the references were there, but they were not like in your face, if that makes any sense.
Oh no, I feel like some of them felt kind of in your face, at least for specific viewers. I think like the whole Donald Glover being the Prowler live action with him sitting in the cell is kind of like John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic moment for like the smaller community that's been advocating for Donald Glover to take the role of Miles, which ironically enough was like he was the inspiration for the Miles character. So it's always funny watching like Donald Glover come back and to actually see him in like the Prowler outfit. For anyone who's like kept track with him, Miles, and like the whole story between the three of them, I thought it was really funny when I saw that. I'm like, wow. I wish they only went this way in a Spider-Man movie, like an MCU Spider-Man movie, because I think seeing like a live action Prowler with Donald Glover would be really cool. And I think this movie only kind of just hammers that home for me. But I don't think that's ever gonna happen. So I'm gonna just hold on to this moment.
Yeah, I was one of the big questions I was gonna ask the both of you is it's in the background. I don't know if you all caught this, and I'm sure you probably did, but seeing Uncle Ben's deaths both in the Webb movies and in the Raimi movies, like in the background there, what was your reaction to that?
I'm trying to remember what came first. I'm pretty sure the Donald Glover stuff came first. So once the Donald
It did.
Glover stuff happened, I'll be honest, I really wasn't shocked after seeing that. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. But I was listening to a podcast earlier that pointed something out that I noticed. They didn't use any Tom Holland Spider-Man. And I don't know if it's like a copyright thing because of the deal with Disney and Sony, or maybe they're like holding him off for like a bigger cameo in the next film and Beyond the Spider-Verse that's supposed to come out next year. But yeah, once that happened, I wasn't shocked. And I'll be honest, I think they'll just put Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in their Spider-Man films as much as they can if they don't have to film anything. And this kind of seems like the perfect film to do that.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Seeing the Insomniac, the Spider-Man PS4 in there in the blink and you miss it, I think that was particularly.
You
I
just
was like,
reminded me of something. I don't know if you noticed this. This might be an Easter egg or something, but Genki is playing Spider-Man 2.
who?
Genki, like his roommate, Miles' roommate. During his scenes when he's playing the PS5, he's playing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah,
I
dude.
didn't notice
I'm just
that.
like, wait a second. Did they just like copy paste the trailer footage right on? Because I'm pretty sure it's some trailer footage, but I just thought that was funny.
Yo, that's a crazy little tidbit there. But Matt, did you notice that when like the roommate playing the Spider-Man 2 PS4 or 5 footage? Did Ryan just brought that up?
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry about the technical problems. I didn't hear the rest of it because I was having audio issues. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, mentioning about the PS4 Insomniac Spider-Man. Yeah, I literally noticed it on the first viewing when his roommate was playing the game. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yep, I've noticed it."
I just thought that was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of Easter eggs I can literally point out. Like I went on that Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the whole meme thing, pointing the finger of that you're noticing what you're seeing on screen. I did that like every time I've caught some of the Easter eggs, especially the spectacular Spider-Man that showed up for a brief moment from the animated series. I was like, wow. I mean, this was going to make a lot of the hardcore Spidey fans a lot of happy to seeing those great
Yeah.
Easter eggs in the movie.
Yeah, and I remember I remember just being how impressed with just the animation in the movie in general is beautiful, but I love how every like Spider-Man is represented in a different style of animation. Like you see the Vulture, but it's like from Da Vinci times, so he's like made out of paper, and you see like scribblings, I believe that's the correct term, and then you see the Ben Riley Spider-Man, but he's like way over the top with the big muscles in the inner monologue, and you got Spider Gwen's world, which by the way, Spider Gwen's world, I am not gonna lie, I thought that looked beautiful with the just the
Mhm.
watercolor look of it all. I don't know how hot of a take that's going to be, but I think that was my favorite of the standalone worlds that we saw, just from an artistic sense, because it was the most unique out of the ones that we saw, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah, it definitely looked great. But I've heard some people did not like that how that animation style that it felt too blurry and too color thinning brightness in your face, which I personally did not have that issue and when I
No.
once I saw the opening of the film. And mostly this is a lot more of Gwen's story too. So Miles and Gwen Stacy are two co-leads in the movie, which I did not expect that from the 15-minute prologue. They've given us more of the backstory of her character, even though we knew about her backstory in the short monologue, but it gives us more in depth and more context, and it worked very well.
Yeah, that legit took me by surprise when we get to like the start of the movie. It starts out with Spider Gwen and her whole thing, and then like literally 20 minutes into the movie, we get Columbia Pictures Presents. I'm like, how far are we? It's been 20 minutes, and like, and I'm not wasn't deliberately looking at my watch, but when I saw it, I was like, wow. This movie is moving. It's like we're not even we're a half an hour in and we already know so much.
I mean this in like the best way possible, but I've seen this film like 3 times now. And the
Wow.
first 40 minutes just drag. There's a lot of good stuff in those 40 minutes, but it just drags. By the time you actually get to the Spider-Verse aspect of this film, it, like excluding the first 15-minute prologue leading up to Miles and stuff, it's like a lot of character building, which is very weird for one, a superhero movie this big, and two, an animated movie. Because I would say this film compared to the first one is at least another step up or two in terms of like maturity level. I've noticed they cursed a lot more in this movie. It just feels a little bit more brutal. And they deal with a lot of heavy themes in this movie about loss, what it means to be who you are in your life. It asks a lot of questions that I'm sure we all asked when we were in high school, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with my life? And like high schoolers watching this now is probably like, holy shit, what's going on? But I I think they just need to rework the structure of the first, I'll just say hour, because this is a 2.5 hour movie. This is
Yeah.
fucking long. And
I had no issues with the time myself because it really is just dependent because some filmmakers can do it and make it feel like it's breezing by, and then there are others who are just like SpongeBob time cards are popping up like 3 weeks later. It's like, come on now. But I thought it was just moving pretty speedy. But yeah, the most heartbreaking part of that was just when Gwen like takes off her mask and like reveals that like she's Spider Gwen, and in the universe that like her dad is the cop and like he's been after her daughter the whole time, and she's like reading her the Miranda rights. I'm like, that's your daughter. Like like think about this for a minute. So
Yeah, I thought that too when I watched that film. I was like, dude, that's your daughter. But you know how Captain Stacy is. He's always about going by the book, and he sees Spider Gwen as a villain, as a criminal. And then by the time you get to the third act, you find out the plot twist that he quit being a captain for his daughter because he did not want to put her away in jail. Because if he still kept on being a cop, he would have had to put her in jail.
which is also shocking because I think that moment has at least one of my favorite still frames in the entire movie when it goes to like a medium long shot of the father looking sad and like his left arm is broken off and it looks like a robot and it's just like pure white and it's just I'm just like, dude, how do you fucking think of this? And how not only how do you think of all this shit, but how do you think of it and animate it in a matter of 4 years? I mean, this is crazy. And I'll be honest, I'm not too sure that Beyond the Spider-Verse is actually going to come out next year. I definitely think it's going to be 2 or 3 years until we at least see the next one, especially with the whole writer's strike right now. And the SGA might go on strike. They just authorized it. So within the next few days, if they don't like reach an agreement, that's going to go on strike too. So a lot of shit is happening along with these movies are fucking hard to make, and to make it at such a high artistic level is always super amazing to see. And it's amazing that animation's kind of like this pivoting point for so many people. At least for me, it was.
Yeah, I was reading somewhere, and I'm sure maybe one of you saw it, but Haley Steinfeld has yet to record any of her lines for Beyond the Spider-Verse.
That's exactly what gave me that idea. I did see that earlier.
I did see that too. I mean, we don't know how much of the cast had like done the dialogue, because I'm pretty sure that they've already done like filmed like the animation, visuals, and all that stuff. They just needed to get some dialogue in the movie, but we don't know how many actors have done it already. But we already know that Haley Steinfeld has not filmed it, had not recorded any dialogue in the Beyond the Spider-Verse movie. So yeah, you're probably right. The delay might happen.
Also, a good note, if Haley Steinfeld hasn't recorded anything, there's a good chance, one, she's going to be the lead or the co-lead yet again in this third film, along with Miles, which means she's going to have the most to second most interactions with all the characters, meaning they have to be in the booth with her together, along with her having to be with Miles. So there's so many big pieces that she's one of the bigger pieces. And if she's not recorded anything, there's a good chance there's many other people that haven't recorded anything. So I wouldn't give my hopes up on March of next year.
Yeah, because if she hasn't recorded anything, then I would be willing to bet that Shameik Moore hasn't recorded all that much either.
Yeah, that's true.
If he's going to be like co-leading this as well, but I think this is as good place as any to kind of comment that Gwen is pretty much leading the troops. Like, and you were bringing up, Ryan, how like she is the most interactions with the characters. She's pretty much leading the Spider Army, if you will. I'm sure there's going to be a catchier name than that, but
the Spider Avengers.
That's the Spidey Squad. The Spidey Squad.
Spider Squad. There you go.
That's a good one. But
and we got the returning characters coming back. We got Spider-Pig. We got Spider-Man Noir, Nick Cage. I mean, oh my god, that means that they're going to play a bigger part in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Because if you really watch that film, yeah, it's split into 2 movies, but this is basically like Infinity War Endgame level event.
I had a bit of a thought that it was kind of like, and I'm not comparing the movies, I'm comparing the structure. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, in that you had Fellowship, and then you had Two Towers, and then Return of the King. So I think it's similar. I don't know. I might be talking out of my rear end on that one, but that's what I thought.
Okay, so I'm gonna be that person. The ending really didn't vibe with me, but I don't think in a bad way. I don't think in like a Fast X way, because Fast X is just gratuitous, like fucking rub it in your face, like come watch our next movie.
We do not talk about Fast X. And
it's nothing like that.
They are doing this for it's a cash grab franchise. They're going to do anything they can to stretch out this franchise because they know that this is probably most likely be their last one. So they had to stretch it out into part 1 and part 2 and part 3. I was like,
but they also know no one in fucking history could ever make it out of a damn alive right there with all that explosion going on. So whatever bullshit's going to happen, they know
no one dies. No one dies in that movie. It's a fake out death. They're all invincible. They will all come back. Even John Cena, he'll come back too.
Yeah.
So I don't think the ending hits home all the way for me. I think it's close, but I don't think it's all the way there. And I feel like I know what some of the arguments are going to be made about this, but like you said, Matt, this is kind of like the Infinity War and Endgame of the Spider-Verse movies, because I think they're a lot more Infinity Endgame than they are Lord of the Rings, because that first film, Into the Spider-Verse, I think works so perfectly within its own self.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the first film in Lord of the Rings trilogy works as well as The Two Towers. If you never came to that. By itself, I don't think it's a satisfying film as Into the Spider-Verse is. And I think that's where the problem for Across the Spider-Verse for me kind of collapses, where Avengers Endgame Infinity War kind of does it perfectly, I think, where the entire Infinity Saga is about the imminent threat of Thanos coming. He's got 3. You kind of see him cookie piece trails throughout the post-credit scenes, getting like 3 stones before Infinity War. Infinity War comes, you know what happens. In the beginning, it's set up he needs the other 4 stones. The film progresses as him getting them. Now, tell me, would you be mad if the film ended with Thanos snapping, not knowing what happens, kind of like a Walking Dead situation? Or do you think it's satisfying that he snaps, they all disintegrate, and then it ends? Because that's kind of how I'm feeling with Across the Spider-Verse right now. I feel like they pulled it under the rug a little too soon in terms of where the story leads off for at least Miles. It seems that they wrote Gwen's story perfectly in this, but I feel like there's not enough in between to consider it a main plot thread as you would consider Thanos getting the Infinity Stones a main plot thread.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think at the same time, it leaves Miles in an interesting place because he's in a world where Spider-Man does not exist and that he turns into the Prowler. I think that is infinitely interesting, and I think that's a good place to leave him off.
Exactly. Especially like, yeah, you're leaving Miles in a worse place and you're wondering how he's going to get out of it. And we already know that Gwen recruited the bunch of spider team to take her side, and she actually found another solution how to do both, saving one person and saving the whole multiverse. She found a way, and she wanted to come to her senses and help Miles and get her redemption arc, because Miles felt betrayed by her by turning on him, because she wouldn't take his side after all they've been through together. I mean, yeah, I get that. I understand what Miguel is coming from, because even if you do save one life, there's a lot more consequences. The whole core of the movie in Across the Spider-Verse, it's the hero's journey about Miles learning how truly what it means to be Spider-Man, is learning about acceptance of loss and death and taking responsibility for your gifts. And sometimes it sucks, but it's for the greater good. It's about saving millions of people. But in some circumstances, for like Peter Parker, he only had a last minute decision. But for Miles, he has a lot more time to figure out another solution, to figure out another way to do both. And that's the whole point about what if we get into the third movie? There might be a time where he's probably going to have to make that sacrifice, and how he becomes the Spider-Man that we know.
So, but one of my arguments towards that is one of the main threats outside of Earth 42 Miles, spot aside, whatever with him, but outside of the threat or current situation he's in, outside of like Prowler and Aaron, is him glitching. Can someone explain to me how him glitching it on Earth 42 really makes sense? Because they mentioned but they mentioned that his DNA is connected to that universe. So why does he still glitch in Earth 42 if he doesn't glitch on Earth 1610?
I think are you talking about the Miles from our Miles from that current Earth? Yeah, I think that's because that he's glitching on that Earth 42 because he does not belong on that Earth. Because if he lost that time wrist that Miguel gave him, he lost it. Because it was the only thing that protected him from glitching and tearing himself apart from atoms. If you paid attention through the chase, he already lost it and was already destroyed. So that's why he's glitching on Earth 42. And going back to Earth 42, the spider, that the whole plot twist that was coming from Miles' Earth from 1610, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the precise number. But that was meant for Miles Earth 42, and that's why there's no Spider-Man, because that spider from Alchemax, that was an anomaly from that Earth that got transported into our Miles's world,
But
and
see,
he was not supposed to be Spider-Man, and Peter Parker was not supposed to die on that Earth. So,
But I
and that's
don't-
why he became the Prowler.
this whole movie's about destiny and all of that, but I still don't understand how Miles is not an anomaly. Like, I understand how they're telling me why he is, but conceptually, I don't think it makes sense. Because what was the spot's like name before he became a spot? Anyway, the spot when he was in the accelerator thingy, not accelerator, sorry, he's the one that teleported the spider from Earth 42 to Earth 1610.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand how the Spider Council couldn't detect in the timeline, if they can tell the future, that he'd do that if they can tell destiny. Because I don't understand how that happens if it's not supposed to be destined to happen.
I don't know. I think it might have happened before Miguel like formed the whole Spider Society, and because because Wilson Fisk and the whole scientist team, they were doing this whole test by opening up from other dimensions, and probably the Earth 42 spider just jumped right in when they were doing their whole test, and why this Peter Parker from that Earth was fighting off the Goblin, trying to fight off Wilson Fisk and like stopping from activating it again, because you're going to
that's
cause
my
another
point. Is it really
catastrophic.
an anomaly if it was supposed to happen? Because it seems like that was an event that was very much supposed to happen, which kind of leads into the whole thing where, if the whole idea of Miles Morales being an anomaly, how come when we go to Mutaban, India Spider-Man's canon event was stopped? If a canon event is supposed to be destined to happen, why is it happening with an anomaly that wasn't supposed to happen? How is it destiny if that event was never supposed to happen because Miles is an anomaly? Because he would have never died if they were never there because of the spot, which the spot is the reason why the building falls down. You guys get what I'm saying?
I think so, but I mean, at the same time, we have another movie coming up whenever it does come up.
But that
So-
also goes into my whole thing about the movie ending where it is, because I don't know if a lot of my complaints are valid currently. And that's the thing, because they might explain in the next 2 or 3 movies, and there's nothing in this movie to give me any resemblance of an idea of what could be going on. Because every time I've watched it, I've just been kind of going back and forth in my head. Is like, is this supposed to happen? Like, am I finding something, or did they purposely put this in here? Because like, there's also so many threads that they left off in with fucking Miguel like shooting himself up with coke or something. Like, I want to know more about
in
that.
a movie like this, cocaine wouldn't be anywhere near.
I don't know, dude. He got juiced up pretty fast after that.
Well, and also he's a vampire too. I mean, if nobody noticed
so
that, yeah. So
I don't really-
it must have been one of. I think it might have been like. I think he was all about doing that whole Blade style where he has a serum to suppress the bloodthirst. That might be the reason. I don't know. That's just my guess.
See, that's
Wait.
my thing. I wish they.
No, you're
Go ahead,
serious. Like, he's an actual vampire.
Well, you saw his fangs. Well, you saw his
He tried to
open
bite him in
fangs.
the neck, like the vulture in the neck. He tried to bite him.
Yeah, you didn't notice that?
Yeah, when the
I-
helicopter came by, he was ready to go in, and then the helicopter kind of cock blocked him.
Oh, I did not think of that.
Well, it might have happened so fast.
But like
that's true. Yes,
there's
but
so many.
I mean, I've only seen it once because it's a lot to unpack with all the things that happen in the movie. I have to go back and rewatch it and analyze what happened in that during plot points to make sense out of it.
Yeah. This movie is fucking dense, and that's why I felt like I at least had to see it twice, because there's so much going on. And going back to the whole conversation about Gwen forming the team, am I the only one who doesn't get why Spider-Bite is there? Like, everyone else I get, but why Spider-Bite?
That's
they didn't.
the Issa Rae character, right?
No. That's Spider-Woman. Spider-Bite's the VR headset girl.
Oh, her.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's I assume
I guess she felt sympathy. So that goes into my whole thing too. Is like, when she let him go, was it out of sympathy or because she knew he was going to the wrong Earth? Because they show you the screen, it says Earth 42. So am I supposed to I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this character. Is she for Miles or is she against him?
Like I said, there's going to be another movie in this, so I
Is it like
guess
a twist that she's helping Miguel to play as a good person? But why did Gwen go to her in the first place? Oh no, it's not a big thing. It's just more me questioning the logic of of all the spider people, why her?
I guess we'll find out.
We have no clue. And also, majority of the third act, Miguel just disappears, and we don't know what he's up to. So we'll find out in the next movie. That was the whole, because it's the first half of the whole story.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note that not only are Miles and Gwen in different Earths, but I think it's pretty safe to imagine that Miguel and Spider-Woman are also in different Earths, unless I missed that too. But it would be interesting to see where they landed. It's never made clear.
Okay, so this is what I think happened. Ben and Miguel went to Earth 42, and Spider-Woman, Issa Rae, went to Earth 1610 to monitor that Aaron was still, or Anthony was going to die still. Or Jeff, sorry, not Anthony, Jesus Christ. To make sure it actually Jefferson, Jeff Jefferson, to make sure he dies, that makes sure while the other two go track him down. Because she also knows that Gwen came to Earth 1610. So they fully expected that, I think.
Maybe. But that would make a little bit more sense why that she would accidentally transport him to a different Earth to make sure he's not on his Earth to prevent that from happening, because he's about to make captain. He's really close to his deadline, and it hasn't happened yet. It's very close.
But it also goes into the canon event. Is she doing it not intervening because it has to do with the canon? I'm just I don't think the whole idea of the canon events are 100% clear yet. I still find them kind of confusing, or at least the logic that they've approached so far is confusing. I hate the way this movie ended, because I've just I feel like I didn't get the whole thing. I didn't get no. I don't want to say the whole thing as a general story arc, because obviously the whole story is supposed to span over 2 movies, but I don't feel like there was any satisfying story, main plot line story. And I know what people are going to say, the whole Gwen stuff. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, she had the first 10-15 minutes, and then they had the whole capping stone at the end of them coming together. There was nothing really in between, I think, that progressed that for me. But like I said, I could just be missing a small detail. This movie is dense as fuck.
Yeah, and I actually thought of something in that, to think that we're we're over half an hour into this discussion about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that really does state just the quality of this movie, that we're going this deep into a movie like this. Because thinking about Into and then Across the Spider-Verse, they could have not tried, but I'm so glad they did, because with both of these movies you can just look at it and you could just study them all day.
Well, that's what it was either Phil Lord or Chris Miller, one of the two, said in an interview, I think either today or yesterday, that was the reason why they made the Spider-Verse movies, is to show that animation can be more than just kind of that low bar general animation that the My Little Pony and Barbie movies use on Nickelodeon. They wanted to show that animation can be a real expressive art form, photography.
Assuming he said photography, but
yeah.
Oh, I don't know why I just buzzed out like that. But yeah, photography and drawing. I think what they went out to accomplish with at least these first 2 movies so far, this was their bar. They went fucking above and beyond.
Yeah.
And as I joked about with my friend Mike Thomas from his channel, The Novice Cinephile, and other places, it was the greatest 180 in animation history to go from the Emoji Movie, aka The Outhouse, to the Penthouse, aka Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
You're telling me you don't love the Emoji Movie?
No, nobody does. Have you seen the box office numbers on that movie? Good
I have not
Lord.
seen the movie either, so it's
I
fine.
haven't seen it. I
Like,
have not seen. I don't think anybody cares or even care to see that movie.
I've seen better film on stovetop pudding, but let's just save that for another time. But I mean, is there anything else that I mean, like you said several times, Ryan? This movie is a lot. So have we covered everything that we can think of? Is there something maybe we missed?
Well, we can address the live action character elephant in the room. Donald Glover's Prowler, dude.
oh yeah, I touched on
Yeah,
that a
like-
little bit when
Like
you
that
were
was like
disconnecting.
shocking. Like for most people who
Yeah.
have watched Spider-Man: Homecoming and know that Aaron Davis's character Donald Glover was in Homecoming, and seeing him show up in present day in the multiverse in the Spidey Society, he's now as the Prowler. So we don't know if that's just a variant of him or is that our MCU's Donald Glover's Aaron Davis, where he's actually the Prowler in the movie.
I definitely
Because that
don't
was
think it's
more of a-
current MCU.
That was like more of a that was way more of a fan service.
Dude, it was the fucking what's his name, John Krasinski.
There
Yeah,
you go.
just like
dude.
John Krasinski's
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic, the Illuminati from.
We'll never
Multiverse
see him
of
again
Madness.
like this. We'll never see him again.
Yeah,
Fu-
probably
fuck
not.
you guys. But I also I was saying this to Ryan when you were lagging out before. I also think it's a really just cool Easter egg fun fact. The more you know about the story of Miles Morales and how it was kind of based off. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Why am I blanking on his name? Dude,
Is he a historical figure?
no. The dude who plays Aaron Davis.
Mahershala
Oh.
Ali.
No. In Homecoming. Oh my God.
Donald
Oh.
Glover.
Donald Glover.
Donald
Yeah, I don't know why I blanked on the name. Holy shit. But yeah, Donald Glover was like the basis of Miles Morales. So to kind of see him come into this Prowler outfit just as Miles himself is approached by his Prowler version in a different. I don't know. It's some really cool meta fan service stuff.
And
that I
also
thought was,
Spot just actually like transported accidentally from another universe, which is Venom's universe. We saw that lady from the
Venom gum.
convenience store.
Venom
Yeah.
gum.
She was like not surprised at all. She just didn't even like.
But dude, it kind of hurt. It hurt my soul knowing how much stock footage they used for it because it felt
Yeah.
so stock footagey. And I'm like, it kills me. I'm not taking points off or anything or dishing it out, but like it just kills me watching because I'm like, you guys really just went into the archives for this.
And they also
Or
used a lot of stock footage dialogue from the Lego scene from J. Jonah Jameson. Like that was not
Oh.
even like new dialogue. That was literally like taken from.
It's
certain
all J.K.
dialogue from this-
Simmons.
Yeah, but some from other universes, but this one scene in particular from the Lego scene, you can literally recognize the dialogue that was redone in that movie, in the Sam Raimi's movie. Like, you want to raise, get out, blah blah blah, that type of thing. Like, I can literally recognize that was definitely a stock footage dialogue that they dubbed it in for the Lego scene. But that was a very fun scene, and I was laughing my ass off in the theater. It felt very Phil Lord and Chris Miller because they did the Lego movie. So yeah. It has some similar style, and even when he communicates with him doing that sound like beep beep beep, I was just like cracking up so
Bro,
bad.
you saw the
Yep.
story that a fucking 11-year-old kid animated that, right? Today?
No,
Yeah,
I-
dude, they had an 11-year-old animate all the Lego sequences.
Oh really?
Dude,
I
that's
didn't-
fucking crazy. That
That's
an
insane,
11-year-old
dude.
did that.
Well, one more thing before we do wrap it up. Number one, I need a Lego Spider-Man movie, please. And number two, I just find it funny that no matter what universe you go to in the Spider-Man universe, J.K. Simmons
Spider-Verse.
is always going to be J. Jonah Jameson.
As he
Like there's
should.
one constant.
Like no
It's
matter
so-
what universe you go in,
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons will definitely be the definitive J. Jonah. Like nobody else would play that character.
It's the one thing the universe knows we all want.
Exactly.
Well, before we wrap things up, I wanted to touch on this one thing really quickly. What are you guys' general thoughts on the Spot? Because at first I was like, I don't know, but by the end I was like, I hope I see more of this guy.
I like what they did, but dude, that whole middle hour of the film without him, I totally forgot about him by the time he popped back up. I'll be 100% honest. And
I can
but he
see
looks
that.
so badass. Like I really
Yeah.
love they bring it over from the first movie, like those really kind of I don't want to say horror, but yeah, I'll just go with horror. Like the horror music editing when like the Prowler would come along, they kind of did in this movie with the Spot. Like when they're fighting in the particle accelerator in the beginning and he has all the holes running, like it up until it turns into a gag, I'm like, oh shit, dude, they can really make this dude into something scary. And then when he goes into the particle accelerator in Mutabon and he comes out like this opposite, like his dots are white and he's black now, and like his
Yeah.
whole voice is, bro, he's a totally different person coming out. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see what happens with him in this
Oh
movie.
yeah, I definitely believe that they're definitely saving him, because in the trailers you thought he was just going to be like a one-off villain of the week of the opening of the film, but it turns out he plays an important part of the story. The whole part of him Miles throwing a bagel at him when they were being chased by the bunch of scientists, that I started cracking up so badly. How that now they just made him a part of the canon, but it actually worked, and it worked for the story. Sure, you can make an argument saying that he was just more of a plot device that pushes the heroes further of the film, but I thought in context of it, he had a lot more in depth. Yeah, he's silly and ridiculous, but it was all about him proving that he's just not some villain of the week, that he's much more than that. And he's powerful, and he wanted to prove a point, even if it means like causing a bunch of catastrophic from across the multiverse.
Yeah. You know, for legit, like the entire movie, I was sitting there like, wow, they got Ryan Reynolds for this. Then I looked it up later, and I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm reviewing all the Wes Anderson movies, and
Yeah.
Jason Schwartzman is in pretty much all of them, that it's Jason Schwartzman voicing the Spot.
I knew he sounded familiar, and a lot of people said that was Ryan Reynolds. Like, and
Dude,
for
it
me
sounds
personally, when I
nothing
first
like
saw it, I never thought of it was Ryan Reynolds, but I knew that guy was sounding familiar, but I can't remember his name, but I know the actor. Oh, and I don't know if you know this, but the actor who played Peter Parker from Gwen's universe, it was voiced by Jack Quaid from The
Yeah.
Boys.
Oh, nice. That was
Yeah.
very nice. But I think we can draw things to a close on this. I think Matt, you and I both loved it. Ryan liked it, but flawed.
No. So I really enjoyed it. Like I think all the emotional moments hit. Everything that needs to happen happens, and they do it really well. My thing comes down to the structure of the story, the writing. We didn't mention this at all, but they get a point down because a studio with so much money should not be delivering films with audio problems like this movie did.
Mm.
So that's just embarrassing in and of itself. Like you straight up, like Hobby, you could barely hear for half his dialogue. All of, I would say, fucking Gwen Stacy's monologues you couldn't hear.
Well, what about that Spider-Punk character, which I found him interesting,
No,
but most of
that's
the
what I'm
time,
saying, Hobby.
I barely
Hobby.
even understood what he was saying.
That's what I'm
because
saying, Hobby.
maybe
You
I don't
couldn't
know if
understand his
you were
dialogue.
not the only one, because a lot of people were saying that the audio mix was very off, and we don't know if it was the theater itself or maybe
No,
the studio just made poor choices with the sound mixing.
When the music is higher than the voices, it's not the speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's what
that's-
I figured.
It just frustrates me because I know how much time they go into converting all of this stuff after it's done and how many checks they do. And to make such a silly little mistake just shouldn't be happening. But this is also coming from someone who wants to make films, so I'm a little harder on that type
And
of
also,
stuff.
it reminded me of Tenet when I went to go see that in the theater. That the
Dude.
sound effects was so loud that you barely hear any dialogue. You would
Russ-
literally have to use a subtitle to hear the dialogue in that movie.
Yeah.
I
I've
don't
never
know if-
watched the
and
movie
There's
again.
there's been word going around that Across the Spider-Verse that they kind of fixed the problem. I don't know if it's true or not. I could be wrong, but I have to see it again just to really make sure that they like improve the sound mixing.
That'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see if they do fix that, because I was going to say, yes, I did have some difficulties. I was able to manage through it fine. I could recognize Daniel Kaluuya's voice, but I feel like
Oh,
feel like it was just-
that's how we sounded
There-
in the entire movie. Like,
there's a-
dude, what?
There were times
Like,
where I understood him, and there were times where I just like he kind of I don't know if it was just him or it was him mumbling through the dialogue for the accent or something. I don't know. I mean, I have to really see it again because it was all happening so fast.
No, it was the audio mixing.
Probably, yeah.
It's unfortunate.
All right, well, as we bring this all to a close, I want to thank Ryan. I want to thank Matt for joining me. Let's do this again sometime. I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, what was your biggest like WTF moment? Let me know in the comments or the live chat. I'd like to know what you'd like to say. Again, Ryan's links, Matt's links are in the description. Is there anything in particular you guys would like to promote?
Well, I did like post like couple of my movie reviews. I already did this non-spoiler review for Across the Spider-Verse. I did Fast X. I did The Little Mermaid, the remake version. So definitely go and check out on my channel and go and subscribe. I will be posting a lot more, and I'm planning on seeing Transformers: Rise of the Beast this weekend. Then the next weekend, I'm going to go see the Flash movie on opening night, which I'm very excited to see that mostly. And overall, with my Across the Spider-Verse, like I said before, it's my favorite film of the year. I don't know if it, in my opinion, might change, but it's definitely in the conversation of one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. I don't agree with people saying that this is the best comic book movie of all time. I think that's a little too overhyping and overstating things, but I definitely think this is indeed in my top 3 favorite Spider-Man movies. So far for me, Sony has made 5 best Spider-Man movies for me personally. And I cannot, after the movie ended, it was one of those, I was on purpose to get the audience to want to go out and see the third one, because they were like, oh my God, I wanted to see more. The Twitter user just made a meme about John Berthal seen in The Punisher when once that movie ends, like, no, wait. That was literally accurate. And it was just, and the whole ending was not meant to satisfy you. It was meant to get you more excited to the next film. And I was so glad that we didn't have to sit through 10 minutes of post-credit scenes like in most superhero movies.
Yeah, well, like I said, Ryan's, Matt's links in the description. Go give them a subscribe on their various accounts. But thank you all so much for watching. For Ryan from Realspective, for Matt Wyatt, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you in the next one. You all have a good night.
Peace.
See ya.